Yes, guys, what's going on? Welcome to AdamMcKola TV. This is United Daily Live. We are back again, as we always are, every single day here on AdamMcKola TV. Thank you all for joining us. Hope you guys are all doing well. Little bit of a Twitter meltdown today with Manchester United fans. Always good to see Glazers out, Woodward out, trending. But also in regards to Sergio Reguilon's potential transfer as well. There's been a little bit of a meltdown about that one. Now, I am all for Sergio Reguilon signing for Manchester United, but a month ago, 2 months ago, I didn't want him. A left back wasn't our priority, so I'm not going to lose my mind over it. But we will be looking at those reports today in relation to Sergio Reguilon, who now looks set to join Tottenham Hotspur. Real Madrid have been trying to sell him this summer. They've offered him to Manchester United. United have been in negotiations, or believed to have been in negotiations, over the last couple of days and the last week. We heard the deal was on, the deal was off. They wanted a buyback clause. They didn't want a buyback clause. United were going to pay more to get a deal without a buyback clause. Reguilon had decided he wanted to join Manchester United, and now we were just waiting for a fee to come through. But that was until this evening when we heard from David Ornstein that Tottenham had leapt in front with Real Madrid to sign Sergio Reguilon, and we'll be looking at those reports today. And it looks like Spurs are happy to include a buyback clause in that deal. Now, I am not happy with United's lack of transfer activity in this transfer window. We knew we didn't need much in the way of signings. We needed 2 or 3 signings. We needed to get out, 4 or 5 players. We knew the signings that we wanted to get. Jadon Sancho was priority. We wanted to get a midfielder. We got that. We wanted to get a defender. We still haven't got that. Sancho still doesn't look any closer to happening. But we've gone into this window knowing we've just got Champions League football. We need to do minimal business. And then we've dragged our heels all the way through the transfer window. I'm not that arsed about Sergio Reguilon. I don't think we should be in the business of including a buyback clause to buy a player from Real Madrid, so that we buy their third choice left back, which he is. As good as he is, he wouldn't be our third choice, quite clearly, but is their third choice left back behind Mendy and Marcelo, and them to say, lads, take our third choice left back, but let us put a buyback clause in there. So if it goes well, we can take him back. I can totally understand why United would not want to be doing that, but I can't understand why we haven't been more proactive in the market in terms of getting rid of some of our deadwood and getting those signings in that we needed to make happen before the season starts. We got a couple of days to go now, and we've only got one deal done. That is pretty poor. But we're going to look at the news today in relation to Sergio Reguilon, in relation to a frustrated Ollie being promised Jadon Sancho by the Manchester United board, to us drawing Luton away in the League Cup. Now, they had Reading. Imagine we got Reading again in the Cup. That would have been a bit of a disappointment. But it looks like we've got Luton away in the third round of the Carabao Cup. And United have reported that the Bale rumours are rubbish. Yes, I was a little bit sceptical about that one, taking someone in on a big wage, even if it only is half of his wage at the moment. But taking him in on a 300 grand a week wage, it did worry me a little bit. This is a man that's been on the golf course for most of the last 2 seasons, more than he's been on the football pitch. How much motivation is there within that Gareth Bale? Are you buying the Gareth Bale that he was at his peak, or even taking him on loan? I'm not too sure. So I'm glad to hear United rubbish those rumours, but only if it means we get our main priority brought in this transfer window. And we will, of course, be talking about all things Bale, Sancho, and, of course, Sergio Reguilon. But before we get stuck into that, we've also got updates on Chris Smalling as well. Let's have a look at the on this day, as we usually do. So 15th of September 1998, that was also a Tuesday, the 15th of September 98, 22 years ago. Rock musician, right, where is this going? Rock musician Roger Taylor, drummer with the band Queen, I'm glad they said that because I wouldn't have known who he was, announces he's providing a start-up fund of £10,000 to the independent Manchester United Supporters Association. Actually, this is a good one considering Glazers out, Woodward out is trending today. Announcing he's providing start-up fund of £10,000 to the independent Manchester United Supporters Association, or IMUSA, in their campaign to stop the proposed takeover of Manchester United by Rupert Murdoch's B Sky B. If you remember, the British Sky Broadcasting wanted to buy Manchester United at that point. Rupert Murdoch, the scumbag, wants to buy Manchester United. His donation is to be used to put on a meeting involving 2,000 fans at the Bridgewater Hall in the city. The drummer, whose son Rufus is a Reds fan, is also to release an IMUSA edition solo single called Dear Mr. Murdoch. I can't remember that one, but I can remember this whole affair, even though I was about 9-10 years old. Taylor states, I heard on the news that the IMUSA desperately needed the means to mobilise its opposition to the mighty Goliath. As I was in a position to help, I felt compelled to do so. I'm hoping that others will now come forward and want to do the same to help these grassroots fans hold on to the club they love. Now, after we managed to protest against the B-Sky B sale and managed to see that one away, and Rupert Murdoch getting his grubby hands on the club, that was the time then when fans could have come together and got Manchester United. After that happened, and then in 2005 we saw the hostile takeover of the Glazers. We saw massive protests in 2005. We saw massive protests in 2010. Shareholders, some of them were forced to sell their shares. We saw the takeover as it happened. Fergie fell out with JP McManus and they had a court case. JP McManus said, all right, fuck this, then we're selling all of our shares. They gave more power to the Glazers, and then the Glazers were in a position to be able to take over Manchester United. Now, since then, they've taken over $1 billion out of the club without putting a single penny into the club. And whilst we have spent vast amounts of money in some transfer windows, you think back to the years of Sir Alex Ferguson, and you think back to the years from 2005 to 2013 when he left, and we didn't spend the amount of money that we should have. We weren't competing with Chelsea when they came in with Romans rubles. We weren't competing with Manchester City when they came in. Remember, it wasn't great to see, but we saw Wayne Rooney complaining. He eventually handed in a transfer request, but the crux of his complaint was that I'm not happy with the way this club has been investing and the way it's going forward. Are we going to compete? Now, obviously, we had Sir Alex Ferguson and his greatness masking over that. We also made some very shrewd signings. When you think about the cost of Evra, Vidic, Park Ji-sung, Edwin van der Sar, even Michael Carrick, who cost £16 million. It was a big deal at the time, but you know, they were quite shrewd signings. Yes, we occasionally splashed 30 million on a Rooney or a Rio Ferdinand, but ultimately, you know, while Rio Ferdinand was already at the club when the Glazers came in, I think, but ultimately, you know, Berbatov, you could say, ultimately we were spending well below our means. Well below our means. We were never competing. I remember we sold Ronaldo. We brought in Valencia, Obertan and Owen. That £80 million disappeared. Now, when Sir Alex Ferguson left and they realised what had happened, we not only lost this massive marketing figure in Sir Alex Ferguson, but we lost massive success in what had happened. The club tried to chuck money at it because they thought, and their thinking process was, let's chuck money at this, you know, do some Galactico shit, and let's see what happens. Now, the chopped and changed managers failed to back various managers at various times. Think of Jose getting second, getting Champions League football, failing to back him. And it kind of feels like that now. Oli gets Champions League football, we fail to back him properly. Now look, there's still time to go. We could make the signings which could, you know, ultimately satisfy us in the end. But the window has been drab. It's been too slow. You know, we've known who we've wanted to sign. Oli told the club last year he wanted Jadon Sancho. So this deal could have been done a long time ago. He wants to join the club. So, you know, you have to look at them and see how they've held the club back. Now, people will say, Adam, and I remember in 2013 when I did a video about it, and there wasn't as much of an appetite online, on Twitter, from some younger Manchester United fans to really focus on the owners. But I remember I did a video in 2013. I posted it in the community section on the channel today, saying all these things which I've just said. And some people were saying, why are you moaning for? We've spent money. We've won things under them. And it's like, we've won things and we've spent money in spite of the Glazers, not because of the Glazers. And while they're here, There'll always be a problem for Man United. But the horse has bolted. You know what I mean? Like, it's unless you've got 4, 5, 6 billion pounds, you're not getting the club back. You know. And people say to me, Adam, why don't you tweet and set up a protest? Set up a protest? I can't set up a protest that was bigger than the 2005 protest. That was bigger than the 2010 protest. We had fucking David Beckham with a green and gold scarf on. That's bigger than anything I could ever do. But it failed. And that's unfortunately how we are now. Obviously the love for our club that we have means we're still going to watch games and we're still going to be a part of it. But yes, be vocally anti-Glazer. Yes, protest against the club. But expecting us to be able to get rid of them through that, I don't think it's realistic at all. It's not realistic. Unless you've got 4 or 5 billion pounds, unfortunately. We're stuck with the bastards. But it's always love United, hate Glazer, and it's always Glazers out. But that's the way it is, unfortunately. Anyway, 10 minutes on this day. Bloody hell, we've been rambling on. Let's get stuck into this transfer news that we've seen today in relation to Sergio Reguilon. Now, it all started with... so, this is what we saw at around 3 o'clock. So, Fabrizio Romano tweeted, talks are progressing between Manchester United and Real Madrid over an agreement for Sergio Reguilon, with the two clubs discussing the buyback clause. The player's agents have positive feelings. Then we heard Tottenham, this was from David Ornstein, Tottenham are close to agreeing a permanent deal for Reguilon. Manchester United have also held discussions for the player, but they have not reached any agreement. Then we heard from Sport Witness and AS. Tottenham are willing to accept the buyback clause for Sergio Reguilon. Manchester United would not even contemplate a buyback clause. United feel their prestige made it illogical to not have complete control over a player they signed. Then we heard, where's that now? From David Ornstein again in the last hour, that United felt they were somewhat being used to draw Tottenham to the table for Reguilon. Now, pause. That, and the last thing that I said that was reported by Ornstein, that was reported by Sport Witness, in relation to United felt their prestige made it illogical to not have complete control over a player that they signed. So United pulling out of this deal because of that, I totally agree with it. I totally 100% agree with it. We are not Dortmund. We are not Spurs. We are not Red Bull Leipzig. We are not any of these clubs that are these feeder club types of teams that are happy to take a player in and let him go 2 years later once he's got up to scratch and move on for a 10 million euro profit or something. We are not that club. We shouldn't even be considering it. Sergio Reguilon was a bonus signing. It was like, he's available. If you can get him without that buyback clause, get him. Because he can improve on Luke Shaw, in my opinion. Is better going forward. Defensively, I think Luke Shaw's better. But he's great competition there at fullback. If you can get him for 30 million euros without a buyback clause, fucking do it. It doesn't make sense not to. But if they are insisting on a buyback clause, then don't do it. And it's illogical, like it said in Sport, it's illogical for United to do that. It's illogical for United to do that. Now, if Spurs want to do that, that's totally up to them. Totally up to them. But I can see why Spurs would do that, because they're probably trying to get a deal as well for Gareth Bale. They're probably trying to get a fair deal for Gareth Bale. So in trying to get that fair deal for Gareth Bale, they're bending over in this Reguilon deal. It doesn't make... You're onto a lose-lose situation with this Reguilon buyback clause. Because if you buy him for, let's say, 25, 30 million euros, you insert a buyback clause for 40 million euros. He does well for 2 years, becomes a great player, fucks off for 40 million. What was the point in investing all that time? I totally understand why United would feel that would be below them. and they wouldn't want to do it. And it fits in with Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's philosophy on bringing in players, that he only wants players that want to be at this club. It's their priority to be at Man United. And I think it's clear. Sergio Reguilon's priority, his dream, is to play for Real Madrid. And I don't understand why you'd pay for a player that's going to come and just be open, and it's always going to be a potential for them to just take him straight back off your hands. It doesn't make sense to me. So I totally understand why United would pull out of that deal. But that's not an excuse for the lack of business that we have seen elsewhere. If you really want a left back, Alex Telles is available for 20 million euros. Go snap him up. If you really want a centre back, go buy one. If you really want Jadon Sancho, why isn't he here yet? Like, there's no excuses for that. But in terms of this Sergio Reguilon deal, I totally understand why United wouldn't want to have a buyback clause in the deal. Jerome with the super chat, on the other hand, says the board is a disgrace. I understand the buyback clause, but the deal is so cheap. We can't let a team like Spurs beat us. I don't think you do understand. Like, that is a little man thing, you know. Like, that is Spursy. That is Spursy. Like, we're not Borussia Dortmund, bro. Thank you very much for your super chat, by the way, and getting involved and watching. But we're not them teams. And if you want us to act like them just so you can feel fulfilled that we've made a signing, that, let's be real, 6 weeks ago, nobody was talking about Sergio Reguilon. Nobody was talking about him or saying we want him. So the frustration of not getting our priority signings, Jadon Sancho, a centre-back, is now boiling over into, but we never got Sergio Reguilon. They've made the right decision. If now Spurs get him and there's no buyback clause, then there's questions to be asked. There's questions to be asked. Big questions to be asked. I Am King says Towles is a good backup option. We got an Everton fan in the house as well. They've won one game this season and obviously feel like they can criticise a Champions League team. Fina says the club has learned nothing. How can Spurs afford Bale's 50% wages? I suppose if they were offered Bale with a fee, and they said, nah, we'll pay half his wages and no fee. You know, what's 300 grand a week? 1.2 million a month. Times that by 12. Looking about 14 million. Like, it's not that bad for them, is it really, for one season? Jerome with another super chat says he's seen the light. He said, yeah, an expensive loan deal is the exact way to put it. It's definitely an expensive loan deal. Mikey Smith with the super chat says, how's it going? It's going very well, thank you, mate. Apart from the lack of transfer business, it is all good in the hood. We have got 14 days till the season starts. Remember, we'll have the preview coming up this week as well. We'll have loads more content coming your way, so make sure you're keeping it locked for that. Gustav says, do we switch attention to Towels or do we cry? I'd just like to see us get this Jadon Sancho deal sorted, to be honest, and then focus, because once we get that done, I'd feel like the main bit of our business is done, and then if you can strengthen the other areas where you maybe make a few sales, then that's fine. So we have got some updates on Jadon Sancho. So let's go through these. Some of these come from the Dagbladet and that Norwegian chap, Frederick A. Filtvat. And then we've also got some from the Transfer Podcast as well. So we hear Man United and Dortmund are still in negotiations for Jadon Sancho, despite the club insisting he will stay. There's still distance between the parties, but United have received good signals that are still willing to sell for 120 million euros. Now, what I don't get with this is, if you receive good signals that they're going to sell for 120 million euros, pay the fucking 120 million euros. What are you waiting for? They also say rumours of Gareth Bale to MUFC are negotiation tactics from United to put pressure on Dortmund. And And Naveen Ulal from Sport Witness also reported earlier, a source close to Gareth Bale, when asked about United rumours, said there'll be no comment on rubbish news. So Bale's camp calling it rubbish news. I thought United had said that when I originally read it, which is why it says that on the graphic. But that's what we're saying in relation to that one. So Sancho alternative Bale has been rubbish today. And the Norwegian, as we're saying, Frederick has been saying, we're still in for him and we're still confident. But then we hear in a transfer podcast, Sancho has made it clear to several of his England teammates he believes he will join Manchester United during the current transfer window. Solskjaer is a little bit conscious and frustrated that Sancho is yet to join Manchester United, but has been reassured that by the club that the deal will get done. United believe that if they leave the final negotiations for Jadon Sancho until the final week of the window, that Dortmund will eventually cave in and agree to the terms United have offered, maybe a further discount. Now, I've got to say, if United actually think that, they're fucking idiots if they're looking to do that. Barring a catastrophic collapse of all of the talks and verbal agreements that have taken place, similar to what Fabrizio has reported, Jadon Sancho will be a Man United player before the summer transfer window closes. So as we've said constantly, it looks like we are in it for the long haul with this Jadon Sancho stuff. We're absolutely in it for the long haul. Mehul says, should we rather go all out for Mbappe next year than getting Sancho? Jesus. Thanks for the super chat, by the way, Mehul. But we can't get a £108 million deal done for Jadon Sancho, but we're going to jump in for a player that's worth about probably 200 million. Please no. Gustav is saying how I feel final week. Oh my fucking god. Irfan says upsets and heart bleeds watching the way our club handles its business now. Yeah, they're absolute idiots. It's almost like they like creating all this hype, all this anger, all this frustration, all this like, oh yeah, let's do a deal in the last week of the window because we'll get loads of retweets and loads of clicks and loads of engagements. And that sounds really naive. But I mean, if you look at today, when this David Ornstein tweeted about Sergio Reguilon going to Spurs, Manchester United tweeted 4 times in 15 minutes after that, knowing that people will be commenting and replying to that, cussing them, retweeting it, cussing them, and all those things. But all they care about is the engagements, their followers going up, the hype that, the account that the engagements their account's getting. It's almost like the Sun with their bullshit stories. United do it when there's anger, or when people are Glazers out, Woodward's out, tweeting and all that, and it's trending. United will tweet bare times just knowing that their mentions are going to be full. If you look at some of the staff that they've employed at the club recently and where they've worked and what lines of business that they've been in, it makes sense for them to do that as well. They're not stupid. They know what they're doing. And I think you should all see it as well. As we were saying earlier as well, United have drawn Luton in the League Cup. That one has been done. So we'll have Luton away. I think those ties are in like a week or so. The League Cup ties. That's a shame. Would have loved to have gone to the game at Luton. But obviously it's a stadium I've never been to, so shame. Rijoy with the super chat as well. Thank you very much, mate, for getting involved. Bale hasn't played football since dinosaurs were still around, says Matt. Yeah, I feel like that Bale one is one that I would steer well clear of. And when you look at Spurs potentially signing him and the injury record that they have, I can only see that getting worse. And then them having an expensive Bale sat in the stands doing fuck all, playing golf, getting 300 grand a week for a year. And in the same season, they'll have to fork out £15 million to sack Jose Mourinho. It's going to happen. It's going to be an absolute meltdown at Spurs. I hope they got the cameras rolling again. Kahinde says that's the United PR department. No doubt they'll be trying to get some deals done. Money is the issue of being ripped off by the other clubs. I agree with that, Kahinde. I have no doubt they're trying to make these deals happen. It's how long they drag on with them. Look, we weren't expecting Chelsea levels of business, 4, 5, 6 signings. We weren't expecting that. At most, I was thinking we'd get 3, 4. I thought we'd defo get 2, and I'd be satisfied with 3. We've got 1 so far, which I'm very happy with in Donny van der Beek. I was certain we'd get Jadon Sancho. The club have known Ollie's wanted him for 12, 18 months. So get the fucking deal done. You know, Dortmund have told you consistently what the price is. Get the deal done. £108 million for Sancho, even I think is worth it in this market. And next summer, the price is going to go up and there's going to be more competition for his signature. So if you don't get him now, you're not going to get him at all. And if Ollie wants him, he's just delivered for you. He's just brought you Champions League football. He's started building a team that's moving in the right directions. And now he needs signings in certain positions. We haven't got a right winger. If I have to see Daniel James on that right wing again, I don't know what I'm going to do. We need quality in those areas. We can't be relying on Mason Greenwood every single week. He's 18 years old. Why would we want to kill him like that and put the pressure on him? Now, he might rise to that. He's quality. But we don't need to put that pressure on him. We need to make the signings. Simple as that. Achin says, do you see us going for Towels now? I'm not sure. I was never expecting us to sign a left back. Obviously, when Reguilon the idea was floated and we were linked with him, I was quite interested in it because I think he's a good talent. And how cheap the deal was, you'd get it. But I think, you know, we were probably interested in it because we were offered him. But I don't think we're acting like that's a position we're looking to make happen straight away. So I wouldn't be surprised if we didn't go in for him. But anyway, David makes a point. No United sales holding it up. But then get the deals done. Get the deals done. Be proactive in it. Rather than reactive and fucking slow like you are every single window. Anyway, guys, thank you for tuning in. Make sure you're keeping it locked. You're liking, commenting, sharing, subscribing. We got about just under 1,500 of you watching at the moment. I bet at least 700 of you ain't subscribed. So hit that subscribe button right now if you can. If you've already subscribed and you've not joined, click that join button. Like the video as well on your way out. But thank you for tuning in. Let us know all your thoughts on everything we've discussed. Sergio Reguilon set for Spurs. Bale looks like he's set for Spurs as well as United. Have rubbished the rumours. And we've drawn Luton away in the League Cup. While Ole Gunnar Solskjaer has apparently been promised we will get Jadon Sancho. Fucking better. Anyway, see you later.